So you want to go to the store and buy yourself some really nice looking baby bok choy. So baby bok choy are the shorter version of this. But if you couldn't get tiny baby bok choy, you could always use just regular bok choy. So what you want to do is wash it, and then I just cut it down the center, right through the core, leaving everything just like that. So I'm not taking the core out because really this is a very tender vegetable. So it doesn't take a lot of cooking. So we're going to leave it in halves like this. And then what are we going to flavor this with? Well, let me show you. This is something called speck, or if you were in the Sud Tyrol of northern Italy, the northernmost part of Italy, you would call this Speck because it's a very German part of Italy. And what this is a dry, cured, and lightly smoked ham. So when you describe this ham, you often say a little salt, a little thyme, a little smoke gives you Speck. So you want to cut it with a good knife into slices. So we want to dice it up because this is going to flavor our bok choy. So there it is. Take and just put it in this bowl, and it's ready to go. So we have a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in a pan, not too much, about a tablespoon because you've got fat in the speck. And we're going to heat that up and get this crispy because the speck is going to act like the croutons on top of the bok choy. And the other Italian ingredient that goes into the East meets West is Asiago. Yes, another wonderful cheese. So you can do as much as you want. I think if you grate like a quarter of a pound, that should be plenty. And if you have more cheese than you need for the top of the bok choy, well then you can always just eat it. Oh, it's delicious. All right, that's enough. So let's put that off to the side and check on the speck. Okay, so you see why you don't want a lot of oil because you've got the fat of the speck. So turn down your heat as you're cooking it. You really just want this to get crispy. So it needs about a couple more minutes and then we can take it out of the pan. Now we're going to use some fresh garlic in that oil that we flavored the speck in. So you just want to slice up a couple cloves of garlic. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a couple cloves. But make sure you're always using fresh garlic. You don't want to use stuff in a jar because that stuff is just really, really potent. So now we can put the garlic into our oil. And we want to turn up the heat now just to get that garlic colored a little bit. We don't want to really burn it. But here's a little trick for you about when you're cooking garlic. You see how I just have it in the pan and the oil is around it. But if you tilt that pan, if you just tilt that pan over the flame and allow the garlic to be submerged in the oil, it'll cook a lot faster. So get them in, cut side down. And now I want to give this just a little salt. Not too much because the speck has salt. So we want to control the amount of salt. So now we just want to let this cook until I can easily insert a small knife into the thickest part of the bok choy. So I'm going to cover this and let it cook, for about 5 minutes. So here's how I check. You take a little knife and you stick it right in the end part of that bok choy. And you see how easy it goes in. So that means I can do the flip. All right, so we want to turn these over. Want to turn them over now. Because look, they have a nice color on them. See that? You know, sometimes I add a little soy sauce to this if I want to really keep it on the Asian side. Now we can add the cheese. So here is our wonderful Asiago. Remember I told you it's a very good melting cheese. This cheese that comes from Asiago in the Veneto, cow's milk cheese. So you sprinkle it right over the top of the bok choy, as much as you want. If you grate it, of course, it's going to melt very quickly. Now, we cover this and we just allow that cheese to melt.